Greetings from right outside of Apache Junction, Arizona. This is a campground episode, and I'm here at the Lost Dutchman State Park, about to spend a night. I can tell you right off the bat, this is definitely an RVer's paradise, but how will it be for a tent camper like me? If you want to find that out, stick around, and I'm going to give you a tour and let you know what I think. So let's go. All right, I have arrived here at my campsite at the Lost Dutchman State Park, site 108. And as you can see, it's kind of tiny actually. So next thing I want to show you is what I ended up doing here to fit my tent. I did move that picnic table. It was kind of where my tent is now. Originally I was going to set my tent up over there, but there's a lot of like overgrowth and plants, so I don't think it's the season of scorpions just yet here in Arizona, but I felt more comfortable not being up against all that growth back there, so that's why I moved things around a bit. And the reservation system page said that there is a 7x7 tent pad in here, so as I looked around, they don't really have tent pads as I would think about them. Usually that means there's like a designated spot, sometimes elevated, to put a tent. I just think what they actually mean when you look at the site is a recommendation of the biggest size tent that you're going to be comfortable setting up in a particular spot. So this tent that I have is, I think it's 87 inches by 50 inches, so that's about 7 feet by 4 feet, and you're not going to get much else bigger in here. So I think it'll do, but clearly I don't think this was designed with tent camping in mind. Most of the sites do not appear to be really well suited for tent campers. Now if you're in an RV or a camper, this is a really nice little spot to hang out and chill out. And all the sites come with a picnic table. I've seen different kinds. This one's wood. I've seen steel ones, but each site does come with one of those. And each site I've seen so far gets a fire ring and grill, and that's an adjustable grill. And so far, every single lot in here that I've seen has a really nice sized driveway. Once again, kind of showing I think this is much more geared towards folks in RV and campers. And you can kind of see too, you're pretty close to your neighbors. Got some folks right over there. And then I've got some more folks like right here. But they do have nice small trees. I think those are Palo Verde and some other bushes to give some sense of privacy in here. So, but one thing that I will say that's awesome regardless of whether you're in an RV or tent is that view of the Superstitions back there. So right now it's really early March, starting to get some wildflowers blooming around here. Not really seeing too much of that here in the vicinity of my campground, and the website did say that things aren't really in full bloom yet, but it is starting to get a little bit warmer. This destination is probably really good for winter camping. You know, it's pretty mild here in the Phoenix area. We're not too far outside of Phoenix, and I could see this is a very popular campground. I was not expecting it to be as booked as it is, but yeah, a lot of folks are here. And if you kind of look off way into the distance over there, that is an old ghost town, kind of a tourist attraction called Goldfield. We'll visit that sometime soon, but you can actually hear a lot of activity over there. They must have like a miniature train or something, because I hear an occasional train whistle, which is pretty cool. It's not actually bothering me or anything, but heard it many times so far today. I think the next mission I'm going to go on really quick is I need to find out where the trash is, because I got some stuff to throw away. I think I see a green dumpster right over that way. So yeah, that is what this was. You see the red Cactus Atlas mobile and my yellow tent over there, and you've got some recycling over here and a big dumpster. So I'm not too far from that. I think that is the only waste area for this area here, this particular loop. You know, I'm really surprised at how crowded and booked this place is. It is a Wednesday. I had some time off, so I figured, oh, I'll just come out in the middle of the week. Started looking at their website. You can book, by the way, or make reservations in advance on the Arizona State Park site. Started seeing that everything's booked, and the only thing they had was that one site that I found, that little small site. But yeah, just keep that in mind because I had no idea how popular this place is. I think I'm on a mission today. I want to find at least one other tent camper. I'm starting to feel a little weird being the only one. Haven't gotten any funny looks yet, but you never know. Take a look at another site. This one is site 112. Nobody's arrived yet to compare it to what I'm dealing with. Just most of them are already occupied. But yeah, as with all the sites, you get a picnic table, a grill, and this one has got a lot more space for a tent. But they are pretty tight. But the view from a lot of these sites is absolutely spectacular. I mean, look up there at the Superstition Mountains here right behind us. And here's another site we'll use for comparison's sake, site 116. This one's also really small, so if you're tent camping, I don't even really see how you'd put a tent over here unless you move that picnic table around. And I did read that folks have been moving picnic tables to accommodate tents, so if you end up staying here, you might need to do that. And here's another site whose occupants have not yet arrived, 125, and nice long driveway. And if you're tent camping, this one seems a little different. I mean, you've got an area here to put your tent, maybe a spot back here too. It looks like you got some trails out here behind here. So this site actually looks like one of the best ones I've seen yet. And one other one, 130, not yet reserved. Come take a look over here. Yeah, a lot of these really just are not really great for tent campers like me. I mean, you can make it work, but it's gonna be pretty tight. But if you're in a camper RV, you're set. All right, I've walked a good ways from my campsite, and I think I see the restrooms right over here. But boy, that's quite a walk, actually. And here you go. This is the restroom facilities. Very clean. And you even got showers in here. Sinks. Diaper changing station. Yeah, pretty nice bathroom actually. And behind there's a utility sink for washing dishes. So that's always really super helpful. Okay, so that's one thing I'm gonna tell you. I don't know if this is typically the case for all of the campsites here, but you have to walk a ways to get to the bathroom there. I didn't see any bathrooms, not even vault toilets on the loop that I'm camping on, so that's a little odd. Most campgrounds, especially state campgrounds, seem to have more restroom facilities around, but what I will say is those were immaculately clean. You could smell the bleach, so I assume they were just recently cleaned. The showers were nice, so as far as bathrooms go, absolutely fantastic, but very sparse. And I've seen several campground hosts around here, and they all say that they sell firewood for $7. Now, one thing that I wanted to show you is that many of the sites here have electric hookups. And I think I see a vacant one over here I can take a look at. This is probably a good specimen to check out here. And you can see you've got your electric hookup here. And then water too. So I'm not really an RVer, I don't know much about that stuff. I did look up on the site, it says those electric hookups are 50, 30, or 20 amp hookups. So that probably means more to some of you than to me. Now, a few little facts for you about this campground here. They've got about 143 sites, and you got a mixture of some electric and some not. The non-electric sites seem to be $25 a night, and the electric sites are $35 a night. And I think those are the two main prices that you're gonna find here. So one thing I'm gonna show you is we made notes before we came out, and you can see These are all the various tent pad sizes that you're gonna see listed on the site when you look at a particular site. So there's really no standard here for tent sizes is what I'm trying to tell you. This place, they're just pretty much the spot where your picnic table and fire grill is and whatever room is left over. I think that's what they mean by tent pad. So don't let that throw you off like it threw me off. But do pay heed to what they tell you, because absolutely, if it says there's like a 7x7 area in there, when you take the picnic table and fire grill into account, that's probably pretty accurate. So near the entrance, or actually at the entrance, is a ranger station, and this is where I checked in today. They actually sell some concessions in there, some water, looks like they might sell ice, and a few other snacks, but nothing major, but it's really nice to have that here on the premises. Now they do have a dump station here in the park. There was some stuff on the website that mentions this is really only for use for campers only, and it's not available for the public. So I'm assuming at some point folks were coming in here to dump. But yeah, this is the dump station located right at the front of the campground. Here's another site where folks haven't shown up yet. This is site 60. I really like this site a lot. You get some shade in here. You're nice and spread out. It's got a very short driveway, so you're not gonna get a really huge RV in there, I don't think. You can probably get a pretty good sized one in there. And let's check out this site over here. Yeah, this one's got a lot more space too, back here. And I'm guessing you got your own little private trail right over here to get to the restroom. Site 60 and 62. Site 60, and I'm in 62. Really good proximity to the restrooms. Really good views, very spacious. I'm liking it. And this looks like it's a little day use Ramada, the Roadrunner Ramada. You've got, looks like drinking water here. Really big grill, look at that. Yeah, overall, really beautiful facilities and amenities here. Lots of interweaving trails between the campsites and even the whole campground. It's just a spider web. You can kind of get lost in here, but definitely absolutely beautiful place. So it looks like they actually have multiple restrooms here. This is another restroom facility, a little bit further away from my campground, but they do have more than one at least. And yeah, as you can see, RVs as far as the eye can see, and not a single tent. And look at that yellow tent over there. Who's that fool camping in that? Oh, wait a second. And I've returned. Home sweet home. So here's an overall layout of the park. I'm right there. Site 108. All that I haven't really seen yet is here, and they all look like they've got really long driveways. So I'm going to guess that that area is also occupied by RVs, but I think I'm gonna hop in my car and see if I can find at least one other tent. So virtually all the sites here that I saw accommodated tents, and if you look at the website, if you look at an individual campsite, it'll tell you what the recommended dimensions are, or probably the max dimensions rather, of what a tent would be. So I figured you'd have a good mix of tent campers and RVers here, but this really does seem to be an RVer's paradise actually. And I could see if you're in an RV, this place is pretty sweet. Okay, so that confirms that I just drove through every loop here at this campground. I am officially the only tent camper here. And I am finding that I'm constantly stopping and taking in that view of the Superstition Mountains. Man, that is one iconic, gorgeous sight. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm walking from my campsite to where the ranger station is up front, mainly because there's a native plant trail there, a really short trail that's supposed to talk about the plants native to the Sonora Desert here. And I figured if you were camping here, that would be a nice little warm-up for you before you do any hiking or any other activities here. A word about the weather here. It's really early March right now. It's supposed to be in the 60s today. It feels like it's in the 70s, to be honest. I'm sure it's gonna cool off tonight. It's supposed to get into the really upper 40s tonight, so I am prepared for that. But yeah, this place is ideal, I think, for camping here in the winter season. I don't think you'd be too happy camping here in a tent anyway, in the middle of summer, when your temperatures are gonna be well into the hundreds during the day, and depending on when you come, sometimes it doesn't even get below 100 at night once in a while, so I don't think you'd be too comfortable in a tent. Now in an RV or camper, that could be a totally different story. I honestly don't know how popular this place is during the summer. I imagine not too much. I imagine people head north at that point in time. One thing I'm missing right now is a bike, and I've seen quite a few folks on mountain bikes just really traversing this path. You can see it's really smooth and well maintained, so I'm not talking about any kind of hardcore mountain biking, but this place seems very friendly for that. So try to keep that in mind if you come to visit. And one thing that some of us that live here in the Phoenix area take for granted probably a little bit are these really mighty saguaro. But sometimes I have to kind of put it in perspective. If you're from out of town and you don't see this every day, you know, trying to remember back to my first time really seeing one of these out here, and it really was a pretty striking experience. So I got some information from the folks inside the little visitor center or ranger station, and this should be the native plant trail. Huh, yeah, there we go. It was just hard to see it. I came over here earlier thinking it was here and I just didn't see that sign. So this is a pretty short loop trail. Supposed to have a lot of signs that tell you about the flora of this area, and I've already found one right here, so they did not disappoint. So yeah, I'm not gonna show you every single one, but you can see you can really learn a lot about the plants in this area if that interests you. And I can tell you that is a cholla, and it looks soft and fuzzy, but I guarantee you don't want to touch that. So I did inquire at the ranger station about some of the trails that you can do. Probably the big daddy of all trails here is known as the Flatiron Trail. They portrayed it as being kind of rock climbing, but it's really not. I don't think. It's more like bouldering. They said there's like 3 to 4 foot boulders. So if you've done Camelback Mountain or something like that, she said, yeah, it's similar, except there's a much longer part that you have to go up. And she did mention that rattlesnakes have in fact started to come out, and somebody in there just the other day was out on those boulders and they almost kissed a rattlesnake, she said. So yeah, I'm kind of keeping an eye out now. This is supposed to be one of the more active seasons for that. I thought it might be a little bit later in the month, but I think it's just getting started. And this is really cool. They actually have all the way back to January of 1992, this cactus was that high. It was probably already 20 years old when they measured the growth at that point. And you can see, fast forward to today, and they've got all the way up to 2020. I don't think you're gonna be able to see that, but take my word for it. So you can see like how much that thing grew, but that's a pretty long span of time actually. That's like almost 30 years. Plus it was already 20 years old. So I'm gonna guess this is about a 50-year-old cactus we're looking at here. And this thing with all these tentacle-like appendages is an ocotillo. I don't even need to look at the sign to tell you that. I know this because we've got 2 of these in my yard actually. I was gonna say many of them, only 2, but pretty soon they'll actually get some really beautiful orange flowers, which I think Amy just read, you can actually brew them into a tea. So yeah, the native plant trail here, right by the visitor center where you check in. It's a nice little intro to all the plants of the area. So definitely make it a point to stop by. You may appreciate the desert more if you do. Of Quick note about internet and phone coverage out here. I'm with Verizon and I've been having much luck. Been wandering around the desert and I've been averaging about 2 full bars of LTE. So I've been able to check email and do pretty much anything I want with no problem, and it's been more than decent. So if you're worried about that, you'll probably be okay. Oh my God, I think I see another tent. I'm not the only one. And back here I see another tent camper. So that would be the third one that I've seen today. Now this trail I think goes straight to their campsite, so I don't want to go bother them, but from here it looks like a pretty nice campsite. This is always one of my favorite times of the day at a campground. People are starting to make their campfires. You smell that campfire smell. People starting to cook dinner. Sun is setting. Always beautiful and peaceful and quiet. And zoomed out a little bit, you can see the section that I'm in, the loop that I'm on, is the one closest to that backdrop. So there really aren't any bad views of this, but if you want to be closer to that, you're going to want to stay back on this loop. All right, this is the best time of the day. Hanging out here at sunset and starting up the fire. Now one thing I'm going to take a gander on, and I could be wrong, is that it's winter time, there's been enough rain, and they allow campfires now, but I'm going to guess when summer comes and it gets hotter and drier, I wouldn't be surprised if they have times of the year where you can't make fires. So no guarantees that you can do this when you come to visit. Alright, so I've spent a night here at the Lost Dutchman State Park, and I have a few thoughts that I'm going to share with you about my experience here. Overall, this place is fantastic. It's beautiful. All the campgrounds, the campsites, everything's well laid out. A lot of nice amenities. However, with that being said, I think it's mainly geared towards RVs and larger sized campers, as evidenced by the long driveways that you'll find here and all the electrical hookups. For a tent camper, it's a little difficult, I would say. A lot of the sites are really small, sloped, really rocky and gravelly, kind of uncomfortable lay down on at night. So that's my first complaint as a tent camper here. Now another thing that I found a little odd is that while they do have a couple restrooms here and they are very nice, there are very few of them, and it's a pretty large campground. And from where I'm at, I had to walk about 5 minutes easily one way to get to the nearest one. And if you have to make a trip in the middle of the night, that's not the best thing. You probably have to get in your car if it was urgent to get over there. Luckily I didn't have any problems like that. But yeah, that was a little weird. I would have liked to have seen a vault toilet or something here that's a little bit closer to the campground. I suspect the reason why is most people are in RVs and they probably have their own toilets. So once again, it's something that you wouldn't have to worry about, but from a tent camper's perspective, that is something that we have to give some thought to. So that's another little spin on it from a tent camper's perspective. Now it is hard to complain though, when you got views like that. So you're gonna, I think tent camper or not, I think you're gonna enjoy staying here. Just to kind of sum it up though, if you're a tent camper, I don't think from a campsite perspective, it's not going to be your favorite of all time, and you might struggle a little bit, but you'll figure out how to get it done, and I think you'll enjoy yourself. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and subscribe, and look us up on social media at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram under the name Cactus Atlas. Till next time.